Gayatri, if you had not become a doctor, what would you have become otherwise?
Ever since I joined Instagram, I always kept my account open, thinking that, once I'll become a travel blogger. When people see my profile and everything, they often come and ask me that, are you really even a doctor? Like, you dress so vibrantly. So now I wonder that do people really take me seriously as a doctor or no?
The most common misconception about a doctor?
I would say it's instant expertise, by which I really mean that, once when you introduce yourself that you are a doctor to somebody, people expect that you have solution to all their problems, you have solution to all the symptoms that they are going to mention. So as a doctor, you cannot really have an answer or a solution to every problem that comes to you.
Hello everyone and welcome to the third episode of PODCAGS Season 2, a podcast especially created for our young learners. I am in conversation with Dr. Gayatri Patel, a highly accomplished doctor. Gayatri was commended for her academic excellence on completion of MBBS and went on to top the list when she completed her post-graduation in pathology. She was awarded the Manohar Kirloskar Award in Pathology, a highly prestigious award, and at present she is at Pathkind Diagnostics, promoted by Mankind Pharma, and she's heading the entire Navi Mumbai region. Most importantly, Gayatri is a proud alumna of Children's Academy Batch 2008. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Gayatri.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. I don't think anybody could have better introduced me in such a beautiful way. So it's so good to be back here to the alma mater. I very fondly remember the room currently we are sitting in used to be my computer lab room, where we used to come and learn the technology and everything, and look how time has changed and it feels so good. My heart is completely full. So thank you so much.
So Gayatri, I'm aching to ask you a particular question. So you are a doctor and you are a millennial. So what is that one piece of advice for Gen Z?
So one piece of advice for the Gen Z being a millennial, first thing I would like to say that, you should be confident rather than being egocentric. And it's better if you take your colleagues together. So the better you are, let them grow, better you help them grow, you will reap the rewards of it in later life. By which I mean that, being plugged in 24/7, conversing through emails and text messages and everything used to be something which was very hard to digest for our old leaders and my bosses, So when I see myself as a millennial kid, I think I am also going to have a lot of trouble learning the new AI and everything. So it is very important that you take your co-workers along and help them grow equally. Also, they should keep collecting mentors wherever you go. And once you feel that you have achieved something, do not forget to celebrate. And when you celebrate, do not forget to give gratitude to the people who helped you be there. And take charge of your time.
I'd like to ask you further, you are such a young doctor and already you are at the leadership role. How do you manage to be a leader and steer the entire team?
See, it is very important for you as a doctor to know what you have to focus on, what are the things which you can delegate, and what are the things that you can really postpone. I'm talking about the leadership role as a whole. So my prime focus or my most important goal being a doctor should be my patient's care. So my prime responsibility should be patient care. And I should know, being into a leadership role, there's a lot of administrative and paperwork that comes along. So my another important role should be how do I empower my team members and how do I delegate tasks to them as per their skill and knowledge. You should really not engage yourself into micromanaging, but give charge to your team to manage things, but always cross look, whatever they are doing, and always cross monitor. So this is, I think, you can do a complete justice to being a doctor and being at the lead role, managing the company.
That's a very important point that you mentioned, that we need to understand what is urgent and
Yes.
what is important.
What can be postponed.
So how do you maintain that perfect work-life balance?
Talking about work-life balance, I think it is a tough task. I think everybody has a tough time dealing with time management. But what I personally apply in my personal life is, I keep my happiness at the topmost priority. My happiness has to be very critical. So I engage whenever there's a free time. I engage myself getting into involving into the activities which I really love, like be it dancing or being into creative work, me going for some pintology sessions or things like that. It is always good to pre-plan your vacations and holidays, so you have to prioritize your work right now, and then you have a trip coming. That is something you look ahead, and you just keep going with your workflow, and that keeps a good work-life balance as well. So there are a lot of extra hours that you put even when you are home. Your mind is constantly into your workplace, because medical or healthcare is such a system where the work goes on 24/7. So it's very important for you to take a pause, relax, and unwind for yourself for the things you like. At least a day in a week is like a day off in a week is very, very important.
So, Gayatri, you're fun loving, you're creative, you are bustling with energy. How were you as a student? Were you involved in a lot of extracurricular activities?
Yes, I mean, as a student, this just reminds me of my first day at school. Back then in our time, we used to have interviews, and along with our parents. So when you want to take an admission into the school, you are supposed to come with your parents for an interview. And being a kid, I don't fondly remember the situation, but my parents always used to narrate me this thing, and even till date they keep on narrating me. So the first question Mukundan sir asked me was कि आप स्कूल आओगे तो सिर्फ पढ़ाई करोगे या मस्ती करोगे और एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ भी करोगे. सो माई इंस्टेंट रिप्लाई वॉज सर पढ़ाई तो कर लूँगी लेकिन एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर पे थोड़ा ज़्यादा भी फोकस करूँगी. And I think I'm still the same. Like I'm not a very studious kid. Even in school time, I was not somebody who was very studious, but I made sure that I have my time, I have my leisure. I used to make time for myself to enjoy the things which I loved. So yeah, I think I was the same ever since beginning. The first what I spoke in my interview to sir, and I'm still the same personality.
So, what are those beautiful memories of school life that you recollect fondly?
So as I mentioned in my previous conversation also, that I was very fond of extracurricular activities. So I don't remember any competition or any annual day program where I must have not participated. I was the first one to enroll myself that I'm coming for this dance competition and things like that. And I had also taken training in Bharatnatyam. If I'm not wrong, we had Miss Aarti Desai. There was this whole Bharatnatyam dance organization running at Children's Academy in the name of Nupur Zinkar Kala Kendra. So I was a part of it. I think I learned Bharatnatyam for almost 5 years. And then after passing out, I got into my MBBS, and I couldn't complete my Arangetram, unfortunately, which I still wish I could sometime maybe.
So, when is it that you realized that you wanted to be a doctor?
So let me tell you, when I was introduced first to the subject science, I had this immense interest in that subject, and I was very fortunate enough that we had our teacher as Resna ma'am. And the way somebody sometimes teaches you a particular subject, it just drives you deep into it, and it just wants you know more and more about it. So as a kid, I always had this habit of going home and narrating things to my parents that, I like this particular subject, I don't like this, today this happened, that happened. And my father very casually mentioned that how badly he wanted to become a doctor. But because of the circumstances and the financial glitches, he couldn't make it. So he just randomly mentioned that if ever you willingly want to be a doctor, and if there is an interest in you, I'll do whatever it takes to make you a doctor and be there. So that was the time when I had in my head that I want to pursue medicine if I can. If I'm able to crack the medical entrances and everything by my own, this is something which I really want to pursue. So that was the instance, that was the first time when I realized I want to enter into medicine.
And kudos to you, you cracked the exam and you are such an accomplished doctor now. This podcast is being watched by our young learners. So, would you like to share the struggles that you faced when you entered this field?
Yeah, see, medicine is a very diverse branch. It's a very complex thing. So, what you really prepare for your medical entrances and what you were really taught in your school time is completely different when you enter into medical world. The subjects are completely different. Everything is very different. It's very new to you. You're very naive. So I remember my first day in the dissection hall, I'll tell you. When I first entered into the medical school, it was my first day. We had our class on the subject anatomy, and I was introduced to the dissection hall, which was full of cadavers. And I was never exposed to dead bodies so direct and so close until I entered my dissection hall. So I really felt like running away from that place. The smell of formalin was killing, and it literally got me down to tears that I don't think I can pursue. I literally had self doubts, and I thought that I don't think I can do this. So since then I think I was struggling to clear all my exams and to overcome my self doubts and my fears that I can do this one day. And remember why I started. I always used to tell myself that remember why you started, you have to accomplish this dream. So that in itself, like getting into medicine and facing all these things and having a huge burden of studies, suddenly being exposed to huge burden of studies and everything itself was a very struggle phase for me. Later in my career, when I started practicing, I was very newly married and I had just began my career. So as a woman, you're expected, and especially as a newly wedded wife, you're expected to look after the house and be a caretaker and things like that. And I had just began my career, so my working hours demanded like my working hours used to be like 12 hours, 13 hours. There was always an in time, but there was never an out time. So it was very difficult for me, and I really had a tough time managing my family, my husband, and looking after my career and to apply practically what I had actually taught in my medical school. So when eventually people start seeing success flowing in, it's like an iceberg. So people will just appreciate you for your success, but all your hard works, your dedication, your failures, everything goes unnoticed. But the only reward you get is when the success starts showing up. So it is very, like, one of the hardest challenge for a woman is to manage the house plus get in, like, do justice to your career.
I'm glad that you mentioned that you had self doubts, because most of us have, and the young students who are watching may also be facing the same dilemma. So, Gayatri, you are a COVID warrior. So, has your life changed after the pandemic?
So in a way, where you when you see things pre-pandemic, we used to have, like, talking into the field of diagnostics, I used to always have prescriptions from the physician ordering the test for some critically ill patient. I never used to have a lot of walk-ins in my lab where patient used to come for their self-care, getting themselves annually checked or getting themselves just periodically checked to see whether their hormones are in place, whether their sugars are in place. So this is a major transition which I've seen post-COVID, that people have become more people are driven more towards self-care. And talking as a doctor also, I think we have started living our lives a little better than what we were before pandemic, because we realized that life is short, like life lasts a second. And so everybody, all of us, started spending more on the travel and gaining life experiences more.
Gayatri, you mentioned earlier as well that that you wanted to be a travel blogger. So, do you still travel?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I whenever I feel I have a day off or something, I go for a long drive, maybe a short trip or something. And every 6 monthly, I make it a point that I have a short break for myself for at least 5 to 6 days, where I'm either solo traveling if I don't have anybody else to accompany me, or maybe I just travel along with my husband. Yeah, that very fondly makes me remember that I don't think I've ever missed a school trip. Like, right after class 5, we used to have school trips apart from some water park or something. Like, there were school trips where we traveled to Kerala, Rajasthan, Goa, and multiple places. I think I was the first person to enroll, and that is when the travel bug really hit me. Medicine did take me a pause on traveling, but I think post COVID I really started doing that all over again. And that really helps you to mold you as a person, because that makes you a better, like, it just helps you create a self identity. It gives you a better confidence. It allows you to communicate freely with different kind of people, and allows you to socially interact and build you as a person, sharing experiences, knowing somebody else's experiences. It lets you be a very good listener. And all these things, when you compare to a quality of a doctor, how he or she, what are the qualities a doctor he or she should possess. I think communication plays a very very important role. And also building a social capital is very important when it comes to field of medicine. The more number of people you interact, the how well you communicate and interact with your patient really tells you a lot about the identity. So it all just got ingrained together with the travel and school friends and throughout the journey.
So you mentioned school friends, and school is always about friendships. So are you in touch with your friends, school friends, even now?
Yeah, I am in touch with a couple of friends. Like socially, on social media, you're in touch with everybody. But when it comes to like one-on-one conversation or me being called buddies to each other, I am very good friends with Shraddha, and I am still in touch with two of my very good friends from my school time, Khyati and Monica. So I very fondly remember Shraddha, because when either of us used to be sick or not attending school that particular day, we used to make calls, landline calls to each other, and our parents also used to talk, and we literally used to take down notes for throughout the entire, like whatever was taught on that particular day in the school. We used to narrate everything like word to word, and exchange notes on the landline calls. So that is also a very beautiful memory which I have.
Women are making inroads into careers related to STEM, but we have a long way to go. Do you face any such discrepancy in your field as well?
So ending stereotypes begins well in the classroom. That's where I learned that my self-esteem, expectation and ambition are no different from a man. As a student in Children's Academy, we were exposed to many female role models. But yes, sadly, only 3% of the world's pilot are women, and only 29% of the STEM researchers are women.
Gayatri, this is a rapidly changing world. So, how do you think our students should be future ready?
Yeah, to be future ready for today's generation, it's going to, like, having a digital literacy, financial literacy is going to play a very big important role. Also, as we know that we are shifting to the world of artificial intelligence. In fact, we already have AI setting in. So it's very important that you continuously keep growing and learning into this world of AI. Only then you can be sustainable.
So, Gayatri, what role has school played in shaping your future?
um, this just reminds me simply of a quote that a building can only be as tall as the foundation is strong enough to be built on. So I genuinely owe a big part of myself to my school, because that's where my foundation, the roots are so strong that today I am what I am as a person. So there are certain values and qualities which you need to possess as a person, which were laid back into me right from my school time. Say whether it's being disciplined or being punctual, or respecting everyone irrespective of their socioeconomic strata. Then while participating into these cultural events and everything, this exposes you to a lot of different traditions, festivals, and being a doctor, it's very important for you to not have those biases. You must have that cross cultural education, which I think was laid into me long back when I was in the school, when I was exposed to all these festivities and different types of traditions and culture. So, even effective communication is a key role, which is very important for you as a person to sustain in today's world. The better you communicate, the better you empathize with people, the better you are able to, put yourself. And I have always learned that from my teachers, that continuous learning and self upgradation is going to be something which is going to make you very sustainable. And these are the values which my alma mater has played a very very important role in shaping me who I am today.
Thank you, Gayatri, for mentioning that. I'm sure you're going to break stereotypes. You're going to inspire a lot of young learners. And thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine, and I would take this opportunity to just thank you, because I think this is my first visit after I passed out, and this just makes me very nostalgic. And I would just want to keep revisiting and meeting all of you. I think this is like a refreshment which one needs in their life. Thank you for inviting me, and it was great to be back. And this really makes me nostalgic.